Alright, I did my presentation over canine bloat, so it's just basically bloat is after ingestion of either water or any kind of fluid. The stomach fills with the fluid or the liquid or even gases that build up, which makes it expand and distend. The stomach puts pressure on the other organs when it's so full like that, and it can cause a bunch of different problems. So the most common ones are that there's no blood flow to the heart or the stomach linings. The stomach can develop a tear in the wall of the stomach, which is not good, and then the dog will have a harder time breathing. There's another, when it becomes really bad, it's called gastric dilation volvulus, and that's when the stomach will actually twist inside of the animal, and it causes a blockage on each end, so from the esophagus and then towards the intestines. This traps like the blood, the air, the fluid, the food all inside of the stomach, and it's not able to escape. And it's not able to allow the blood to return to the heart or other parts of the body. And because of this, there's no circulation happening inside there, which can cause irreversible cell damage and death, cardiac arrest eventually, and then a lot of times it can happen end in death for that dog. And yeah, sorry, I don't know what happened right here, but so in order to find out if your dog has this bloat, their stomach will be enlarged, swollen, and distended. It can be painful to touch that animal, or so they might be showing pain symptoms, which is determined on whether your dog. Some dogs don't show pain symptoms the same, but a lot of dogs become restless because they can't get comfortable and can't release that pain. They'll start drooling. A lot of dogs will get nauseous and try to vomit, and will only vomit a small amount of liquid or nothing at all. They're unable to make bowel movements because it's blocked and they don't have any way of having that escape. They won't drink any water, so that's one way to know if your dog's really sick is if they don't ingest any water. Their gums will be pale from that lack of blood circulation, and then they'll have a really rapid heartbeat even though they aren't doing anything. There's a bunch of different factors that can cause bloat. One dog will get bloat from doing one thing, and another dog doing the exact same thing might not get bloat. So it just always depends on the dog. But a lot of the common symptoms they found are eating too much food or too much water all at once. So if you have a dog that gulps their food or water down, that's very dangerous. If you exercise your dog right before they eat or right after they eat, that can cause the stomach to flip really easily. I have a friend whose dog's stomach flipped after they were rolling around on the floor. She didn't think anything of it. It wasn't exercising. It was just rolling around, scratching its back, and it ended up getting bloat. Dry dog foods that are high in grain, all that grain inside of the stomach causes fermentation when it hits the saliva and all like the stomach acid. So all that buildup of gases really fast can help cause bloat. So large dogs that have really deep chests and small waists, if the food has a bottleneck effect, so it goes really fast down through the chest and then it has nowhere to go, so it just messes everything up inside of there. A deep and narrow thorax can cause a lot of issues with dogs. We'll talk about that in a second. And then older dogs have a harder time digesting. It doesn't digest as fast, so there's a lot of buildup, and that can cause bloat in older dogs. If your dog has a first-degree relative with a history of GDV, so if one of their parents has it, they can become more likely to have it too, because a lot of these issues are genetic, like the narrow, deep thorax and the deep chest and small waist, like that's all hereditary. And then eating from raised bowls, which I did not know about because I feed one of my dogs from a raised bowl. She's not a gulper in any means, so she's never had an issue, but if my other dog ate from it, I feel like he would have an issue. So from the research that I saw, he said, Dr. Glickman said that 20 to 52% of every dog in his research that had a deep, but the giant or large breeds, all the ones, it was like 20 to 52% of the ones eating from the bowls, the raised bowls, got bloat, which is really high.
Now, this list here, is this from your reading on Dr. Glickman?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Yeah, so yeah, because that last one, some people say, well, that should help bloat, but I remember corresponding with Dr. Glickman.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say, oh, it's better for them, and oh, it's worse for them. And turns out there is a high probability.
And what was the percent?
20 to 52 of the giant and large breeds got it from drinking or eating out of these.
Yeah.
So.
And Dr. Glickman, if you ever want to know about bloat, in dogs, Google Glickman and bloat.
Yeah, I did Google Scholars and I did LT Glickman, and
Yeah,
he had a ton.
He's like what, 20, got 25 articles or something on bloat?
A ton,
Yeah.
It was awesome. So there are a bunch of different ways to help prevent it. Nothing's, for sure when you have, like a big Great Dane or something like that. But one way to prevent it by slowing them down is by hand feeding. So you can limit the amount they're getting with each, mouthful. Using slow feeders, like this is the one that I use for my puppy. He's a gulper, and it just helps slow him down. He really has to work at getting that food. And when you slow them down like that, another reason they have bloat is when they're eating that food so fast, they're ingesting a lot of air. So this helps slow them down. They really have to think about where that food is, and they take a lot longer. So slow feeders and interactive feeders are a really good idea for gulpers. Like I said, feeding by hand, you can throw them on the floor, get snuffle mats, anything to slow them down. Feeding 2 large meals instead of just one. A lot of people just feed them in the morning or once at night, and that can cause bloat because you're getting all of that food all at one time. So breaking them up a couple times a day is a good idea. And then don't overfeed or let overdrink. So if you just fill your bowl whenever your dog just asks for food, some dogs don't know when to say no to food. I think a lot of labs have like a mutation in the brain where they don't feel full, so they'll just eat and eat and eat. And then a lot of dogs will drink until they throw up, and that's not good either. Let your dog rest an hour to half an hour before they eat and after they eat, just to let everything calm down and settle before they start ingestion. Selective breeding can increase or decrease chances. So if you breed, 2 large chest animals with giant thoraxes, then you're probably going to have a higher instance of bloat. But if you do the opposite, where you breed 2 dogs that have never had bloat in their history together, then they'll be less likely to have bloat in their lines. And then do not use a raised bowl for feeding, because we found that that's bad. So common breeds are the Great Dane, Irish Wolfhound, German Shepherd, African Hound, Labrador Retrievers, Weimaraners, Irish Setters, Standard Poodles, Dachshunds. So those are a lot of the ones with the deep chests and narrow waists. Any breed can get it if you're not careful, so it's not just specifically these ones. And a lot of times it is more giant and large breeds than it is small breeds, but it can happen to others. So some treatments, I know I work at a doggy daycare, and there's a lot of labs I've gotten this prophylactic gastropexy, which is like a preventative tummy tuck. So prophylactic is preventative, and tummy tuck is the Gastropexy, yes. So that's just when the stomach is anchored or stapled into the normal position against like their linings, so that it can't get too much bigger and it can't twist. Helps prevent a lot of those issues. And then if the bloat isn't too bad, the vet will be able to stick a tube down their throat and hopefully release some of that pressure. But if it's really bad and the stomach is twisting, then the doctor will either put an incision inside the stomach to release a lot of that gas, and they're going to have to untwist it themselves. So the damaged and dying parts of the stomach from the twisting will have to be removed. And once they have bloat, it's more likely to have bloat again in their future. But if you're suspecting bloat in your dog, give them Gas-X, Mylanta gas, or Phasime to reduce the buildup until they're able to be seen by a vet. It just helps that from building too much, so it gives you a little bit extra time. And there's my references.
There's your references.
Yep.